Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Chelsea and I'm a first time mum to Rose. And when I'm in this chair, I'm talking to you about the series Not All Mums. Not All Mums is a series I came up with as I encountered difficult subjects in motherhood or difficult things, and I wanted to create a space to discuss them. So I created this series. I haven't actually recorded an episode in a while because I feel like when I was recording like all the previous episodes, motherhood was tough and it still is, but I feel as though like I'm coming out of the early months of motherhood fog. As I said, I'm a first time mum, so it was all new to me, very exhausting, and it still is exhausting. But yeah, I'm feeling different. But today's episode is going to be about therapy and why I think it's important. So I actually just finished a therapy session, and before I go any further, I want to say that obviously I know that being able to access therapy is a privilege that I feel should be afforded to everyone, but it's not, and that's really unfortunate and annoying for those who can't access it. Like, it's expensive, and I guess a lot of people view therapy also as something that you have to go to when you're in crisis, but it's not. It can be useful to just be a space where you can vent and just talk about things that you may not be able to talk to other people about without feeling judged. So yeah, that's the kind of space that therapy provides. So that's one of the reasons why it's important, especially like if you don't have friends who you feel that you can talk to without feeling judged. Like, I'm not saying that's my position, I'm just giving the reasons why it can be important. But also, like, if you're a stay-at-home parent and you don't see any other adults in a day, you just see your child, obviously you can't talk to them about things because they can't talk back to you, and it's not appropriate to talk about some of the things that you may want to talk about in therapy. So yeah, it's important because it gives you the space to talk about things, yeah, as I just said, that you might be judged for if you talk about them elsewhere, especially as parents. And I guess from my perspective, mums, I feel like a lot of people can be judgy when mums say things that may go against the norm of what people expect. As for example, you must always be happy, or you must want to spend lots of time with your child, or you may perhaps regret becoming a mum in those first early months because it's freaking hard. That certainly was my experience. I don't feel that way anymore, but I feel like therapy gave me the space to talk about those things. So I feel like it's important for that. In respect to motherhood and parenting, which is what I feel in therapy is important for, especially when you first become a parent, like, it's a whole shock to the system. And I feel like a lot of us say, no disrespect to all the grandparents or the parents who have parented, or you're always parenting, but you know, parents who've parented their children and they've gone on to have children themselves. A lot of us say, like, we're not going to do this, some things that our parents did, and that's within our right because we all parent differently. But when we end up doing those things, because a lot of these things are done unconsciously, so I feel like therapy brings things to our conscious mind and we can recognize those things and then act differently, hopefully. But obviously putting things into practice can be really hard, so I feel like, yeah, therapy gives you the space to bring those things to your conscious mind and make connections. You have light bulb moments, you're like, like, I'm gonna do this differently. So I feel like as a mum, there's lots of things that happened in my childhood, good and bad, that I explore in therapy and how this affects me parenting. There's nothing that's going to check you more than becoming a new parent. I'm telling you, becoming a new parent really encourages you to want to do better. I know that's certainly my experience. And it brings up a lot of stuff from your childhood because you have this child and you're dealing with a lot of emotions, you're managing their emotions. And for me personally, it's brought up a lot of stuff from my childhood. It allows you the chance to have a new way of doing things and to recognize some patterns or behaviors that you may want to change. And I'm saying this is all positive, but it is hard realizing things and then having to work on them at the same time as processing your emotions and parenting your own child. And sometimes it can have an impact on relationships in your life because you're realizing things, relationships that may serve you, that may not serve you, that you don't want people present in your child's life because you don't like some of the things they do. So it is difficult, but within all the difficulty and storms, you enter into the sunshine at some point in it, you know? And before I end this video, I wanted to say that 3 things that I've learned from becoming a parent, but also from therapy, is to allow our children to express their emotions. And I would say that a lot of us, when our child cries, and when I say a lot of us, me included, we say, don't cry. Our immediate reaction is to want them to stop crying. But it's important that we allow our children to feel their emotions, because not allowing them to cry or be angry or upset or frustrated, which is normal, because if you think of us as adults, we feel those emotions. So why are our children not allowed to feel them? But when we shut those emotions down, we teach them that these emotions aren't allowed, these emotions are bad, and then they grow up thinking that they can't be emotionally in touch with themselves, and that creates lots and lots of issues. So that's one thing that I wanted to share with you. I'm not I'm not taking shots at anyone, I'm just saying this is something to consider. The next thing that I sort of learned is that children don't need to finish their food. Like, we don't need to force, like, this is something that happened to me. Sorry, I wouldn't say it was particularly my mum and my dad actually, but some people would force you to finish your food. And as a child, you don't, if your child eats, and okay, I'm talking in when you have a healthy child, okay, I know there are some situations where a child must eat their food, and I don't know what they are, but I'm saying healthy children, when they get to the table, they don't want to finish everything that you put on their plate, and you force them to sit at the table to finish it because, I don't know, you want to feel in control. Like, what is the reason you're forcing them to finish the food on their plate? Like, can you tell me what it is? Like, what is the reason? I feel like once you figure out that reason, then you can figure out why you want them to finish. That you figure out what are the motivations behind you wanting them to finish. Is it because you want to be in control? Is it because you're worried about wasting food? Like, what is it? But when we force our kids to finish their food, you're teaching them that they're not in control of how much they consume, and that can create lots of issues down the line. Lack of self-control, eating disorders, which is a really huge one. So that's another thing that I've learned. And the last thing, which is, people gonna check me for this, but it's fine. We should not be hitting our children or spanking our children. And I know we can parent differently. This is just a choice that we have made as parents, that we won't be spanking our child. And that is because when our children do something that we don't like and then we respond by spanking them, we're teaching them that when you're angry at someone, because we're angry at their actions, that you should respond physically. I said it. Now, what is that teaching your child about how they should respond to others when they're who they are relating to, when they do something that they don't agree with? It's teaching them that they should lash out at them. I'm not saying that we shouldn't discipline our children, I'm just saying that maybe we should think of other ways to do that. So those are things that I've learned from going to therapy. As I said, it brings things from our unconscious into our conscious, and then we have the decision whether to act on them or do whatever we want with that information. So I think that therapy should be something that we should go to. It doesn't mean that you're a bad parent. It just means that you may want to change some things about yourself, or you may want to, I just dribbled, sorry, or you may want to change some things about how you parent your child. But it's all about, obviously, if you are a better you, then that's going to impact the people around you and how you relate to them, i.e. your partner, and your children, in this context. So yeah, I think therapy is really important. So if you can access it, I would say, like, that's not one of the things that I consider as must-haves. You know, when you have those videos as must-haves as parents, like, I would definitely say right now that this is a must-have. Obviously it's expensive, but if you can budget for it, before you become a parent, or if you have some extra money in the pot, I would recommend putting that into therapy for you or your husband, or maybe your child if they're at the stage where they might need therapy. Don't be afraid to take action if you recognize that something has gone wrong and you want to fix that. Being accountable is great. It means that you can change, and it might have, obviously, when you acknowledge that you've done something wrong, it doesn't feel good, but it's important to act on that if you can. So yeah, that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. If you have had parent therapy as a parent, comment down below if you feel comfortable in sharing your experience. How is it for you? Do you find that it's beneficial? Yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see more of my content. See you in my next video. Bye.